Hi, my name's Trystan Petrash, and before we get into it, I just want to give a huge shout out and a thank you to my newest monthly donor, Jim McNulty. You're awesome! With the hustle and bustle of the holidays, finding time to make a meal can be challenging to say the least. So having one that can not only serve as a quick and easy weeknight dinner, but also double as an appetizer for a party, now that's an instant win. I'm using ground chuck, but if you wanted to go that extra mile, grab yourself some ground short rib, but any ground beef will work. To that, we're going to add a good amount of garlic along with some ginger. Definitely don't be shy here. We'll also be adding some thinly sliced green onion. You basically want to go pretty heavy with all three. They're what's going to make up the majority of the flavor in the meatballs. Then season with some kosher salt, freshly cracked black pepper, soy sauce, sesame oil, and a little bit of gochugaru, Korean hot pepper flakes. We'll be doing a spicy glaze on the outside, so you'll want to go pretty light on the heat in the mix. Lastly, we'll add some panko, Japanese breadcrumbs, to help bind everything but also keep it nice and tender. And finally, an egg. When mixing a meat mixture, you want to make sure it's completely and thoroughly mixed. But you also don't want to be too aggressive with your mixing. Going too hard or too much will actually start to break down the fat, causing the beef to become tough and chewy. It should be able to hold its shape, but not be overly sticky. Then set it aside for at least 30 minutes to allow the flavors to blend. Now this next step is 100% optional, since I do thinly sliced green onions in just about every video I've done, ever. I figured I'd show you another, funner way of doing them. You'll only need the dark green tops for this. Slice them in half, then taking the tip of your knife, slice through just the top layer of the onion. Using a sharp knife will definitely make this much easier. Open it up and lay it out as one flat sheet, then carefully slice it as thinly as you can. There are actually specific tools for doing this, which is something I've been meaning to grab myself for a while now, but just haven't gotten around to it. I'll leave a link in the description for the one that I've wanted though. Transfer the sliced green onions to a bowl full of cold water. The water will mellow the onion flavor while at the same time making them crispier and turning them all curly. Now this is normally the part where I would recommend using a cast iron pan to sear the meatballs, which you totally can use. But in this case, I actually prefer a lighter non-stick pan. It'll be much easier to keep the meatballs moving around the pan than a cast iron, which is pretty heavy. You'll also need a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. For the meatballs, you can absolutely use an ice cream scoop, a measuring spoon, or a digital scale to give you exact, even, and consistent meatballs each and every time. But they're meatballs. And with the stress of the holidays, is it really worth stressing over the exact size and weight of a piece of delicious meat you or your guest will inhale in about 3.2 seconds flat? I think not. But you do you. When forming the meatballs, you still want to aim for as little handling as possible to keep them tender. You just want to work them back and forth in your hands enough until the outside is smooth and there aren't any cracks. Preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit while setting your pan over medium-high heat and adding a few good drizzles of a neutral oil. Work in batches. We're just searing the meatballs at this point, and overcrowding the pan will cause you to overcook them before they brown properly. After a minute or so, give the pan a few gentle shakes. Keeping the meatballs moving every so often will help to ensure they brown evenly and maintain their shape. Once they're all brown and crispy on the outside, return them to the baking sheet and place them in the oven until they reach an internal temperature of 150 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly 5 to 6 minutes. Then allow them to rest and cool slightly. The secret to the glaze is Korean Yuzu Honey Tea, which is basically just a marmalade you add to hot water. It also happens to be one of my favorite winter drinks. But because it's sugary and citrusy, it'll also make a great base for the sauce. But any light jam or marmalade will work. Finish the glaze with some gochujang, Korean fermented hot pepper paste, rice vinegar, and soy sauce. Once everything is warmed through and mixed, it kinda tastes like a spicy sweet and sour sauce. While the glaze is still semi-liquid, return the meatballs to the pan and toss until they're evenly coated and nice and sticky. Transfer the green onions onto some paper towel to dry them out. You can see just how girly they've gotten. Then bust out your fanciest bowl, spoon in some freshly steamed rice, top with a few meatballs, some pickles, the green onions, and some toasted sesame seeds, and you've got a pretty quick and easy weeknight meal. Or, bust out another fancy bowl, pile in the meatballs, then top with the green onions, some red dried chili threads if you can get some, and some toasted sesame seeds. And you've got a simple appetizer for a party that'll beat out Swedish meatballs every time. And that's it! Korean-style meatballs with a yuzu honey and gochujang glaze. They're seriously easy to make and freeze incredibly well, so you can make a big batch of them ahead of time and bust them out as needed throughout the holidays. I'll be putting out one more episode next week, then taking the following week off for the holidays. I'll also be using that time to film a few extra episodes and some bonus content for monthly donors. Speaking of which, if you like my channel and are interested in supporting it, while also getting access to cool stuff like my Discord server, some behind the scenes bonus content, exclusive episodes, and of course a shout out in an episode, you can check out my Ko-fi page. I'll leave a link for that as well as the tools I used in the description. And as always, liking, subscribing, and commenting are the simplest ways to help me make new content each and every week. Thanks for watching, and stay awesome.